At 7:42 p.m., my phone buzzed with a group message titled, Family. Dad wrote, "We think it's best if you take a step back for now. Megan needs space." Then Aunt Carol reacted with a thumbs up. Just like that, I was voted out of my own bloodline. I stared at the screen curry spinning in the microwave, realizing they'd just ended 5 years of my life with perfect grammar. So I typed, "Understood. I'll respect that and step away from the family fun too." I pressed send. 5 minutes later, the first phone call came in, and by midnight, nothing in that family's life was still working. People always called me the steady one, the dependable daughter, the one who had it together. I used to think that was a compliment. Turns out it was just another way to say you'll clean up our mess. 5 years ago, on a night that still smells like wet asphalt and panic, my dad called me from a Walgreens parking lot. It was raining so hard I could hear it through the phone, a hollow drumming against his windshield. His voice cracked. "Skylar, they won't admit Megan without insurance. She's not going to make it. Please." I was 27, sitting in my tiny apartment, still believing that love meant saying yes. I opened my laptop, logged into my savings account, and drained every cent I'd been saving for a down payment. $32,000 vanished in a blink. Megan was admitted the next morning. My parents called it a miracle. No one mentioned my name. That moment rewired something in me. After she got out, every crisis had my number written on it. Mom's insulin, Dad's overdrafts, Megan's therapy bills. I told myself it was fine. I was helping. Family helps, but help turned into habit, and habit turned into expectation. Then one night over takeout, Dad said, "Maybe we should make it official, set up a family fund. You're so good with numbers." I smiled because it sounded responsible, safe, like control. What I built was a leash. The Kenyon Family Fund lived under my name, my account, my routing, my reminders. It paid everything. Prescriptions, mortgages, tires, even small emergencies like Aunt Carol's dental crown. Every month I logged in, checked balances, shifted money, and told myself it was temporary. I watched their lives run smoothly because I kept every wheel greased. Adrian, my boyfriend, would joke, "You treat your family like clients who never pay their invoices." I'd laugh, but in the shower later I'd cry quietly so he wouldn't hear. By year 3, I stopped buying anything new for myself. I canceled Netflix, skipped vacations, ate oatmeal because it was cheap and didn't expire fast. Every time I tried to pull back, another emergency hit. It felt like the universe punished me for trying to breathe. Then came the retreat request, Megan asking the fund to cover a $3,200 yoga trip. "It's for my mental health," she said. I waited for someone else to say no. Instead, Dad replied, "That's important. Mental health counts too." Mom added a heart emoji. I sat there staring at my phone, realizing that they no longer saw the fund as help, it was theirs. My money was their right, and I was the rude one for hesitating. That's when the first small rebellion happened. I renamed the fund file on my computer. It used to be Kenyon Family Heart, XLSX. I changed it to Kenyon Ledger because that's what it really was, a record of debts that would never be repaid. Still, I kept going. Out of duty, out of habit, out of fear that if I stopped, everything would collapse. And then one afternoon, my dad called while I was at work. His tone was soft, almost rehearsed. "Sweetheart, maybe you should take a step back for a while. You've been tense lately." That phrase, "take a step back," stuck to the back of my throat like smoke. I didn't know it then, but those exact words would show up again 5 years later in a group message that would end everything. After that call, things started to shift in quiet, ugly ways. The messages came faster, the tone softer but heavier. "Just until Friday. Can you cover Mom's refill this month? It's only temporary." Every request felt rehearsed, like a script they'd practiced together. Then came the one that broke the rhythm. Megan texted, "Could the fund cover a yoga retreat in Arizona? It's for my mental health." I waited. Maybe someone else would step up. Dad replied first, "That's important. Mental health counts too." Mom added a heart emoji. That was it. Decision made. My silence was their consent. That night, I sat in front of my laptop looking at the fund account like it was a living thing. The balance blinked back at me, smaller than it should have been. There were new withdrawals dates. I didn't recognize stores I hadn't approved. A patio heater gas charges something labeled retreat deposit. I took a screenshot. My hand didn't even shake. The next morning, Dad called, pretending calm. "Hey, Rubes. Sorry, Skylar. Did you see Megan's message? We were thinking maybe the fund could cover half." "Half?" As if I were a committee. I said quietly, "Dad, the fund was for emergencies." He chuckled like I was being dramatic. "Mental health is an emergency. Then maybe she should talk to a therapist, not a travel agent." The line went cold. That's when he sighed, the same disappointed father sigh that folds you back into being 12. "You've changed, Skylar." He was right. I had. A few days later, I got the official calendar invite family check-in call Thursday, 8:00 p.m. The subject line had a smiley face. I joined out of politeness, still believing maybe they just wanted to talk. Within 5 minutes, Megan hijacked the call. "I just think Skylar's energy has been really toxic lately. It's not just about the money, it's the attitude." I sat frozen. Mom chimed in, gentle but cutting. "Sweetheart, maybe just listen first," Dad added. "We're only saying this because we care." I forced a smile. "I've been listening for years. I paid for you all to keep talking. Tonight I'd like to finish a sentence." Silence. Then Dad said it, the same phrase from that phone call months ago. "Maybe you should take a step back. Give everyone some space." There it was, the exact script delivered again, but this time rehearsed by all of them. I smiled faintly. "Okay, I'll do exactly that." They didn't know what those words meant coming from me. They thought I'd sulk, maybe send flowers later. Instead, I opened my laptop that night, renamed the fund folder again, and whispered, "You wanted space. You're about to have plenty." That night, while the city exhaled outside my window, I sat at my desk and opened the Kenyon ledger. Rows of transactions glowed against the dark rent, co-pays, prescriptions, car repairs. I stared at the numbers until they blurred into years. Then I started deleting. Auto pay off, transfer canceled, utility payment paused. Each click felt surgical, like cutting oxygen lines one by one. I downloaded the final statement and saved it to a new folder, Kenyon Ledger. Final. The name felt right. 5 years of lifelines reduced to clean rows and digital proof. When the last toggle turned gray, the quiet in my apartment changed. It wasn't peaceful yet, more like the silence before an alarm. I poured coffee, sat back, and whispered, "You wanted space. I'm giving you distance." At 3:11 a.m., my phone started buzzing. Once, twice, then continuously until the light strobed across the ceiling. 12 missed calls, 20, 30, 89 by sunrise. Dad's voicemail came first. The bank flagged everything. "What happened? Are you okay?" Then Mom, "Sweetheart, this isn't what we meant. I need my prescriptions. Please call." Then Megan, sharp and trembling, "You're cruel. You know I needed that payment. You've always been jealous." Jealous. Of what? Their dependence. Their chaos. I didn't reply. I watched the notifications pile up like snow. When the phone finally stilled, I exhaled. The silence didn't hurt. It hummed. At 8:00 a.m., Adrian called. "So, space, huh?" I laughed for the first time in weeks. "Turns out it includes my bank login." He hesitated. "You want me to come over?" I thought for a moment, then asked, "Didn't your ex Mara move into bank compliance?" He blinked. "Yeah, why?" "No reason," I said, "just curious." That was my first step from emotional defense to tactical offense. By noon, Dad texted again, "We can fix this, just turn the automatic things back on." Aunt Carol chimed in, "Families need grace." Grace to them meant my money. I closed my laptop and said softly, "Grace doesn't pay overdraft fees." That afternoon, the pharmacy called to confirm a declined card. "Would you like to update your payment method?" the pharmacist asked gently. "No," I said. "They'll handle it." "Are they okay?" she asked. I smiled. "They will be. Eventually." I wasn't angry anymore. I was documenting. Because when people think they're entitled to your kindness, the only way to prove you're done is paperwork. By Sunday evening, I'd stopped counting the calls. My phone looked like a crime scene of missed connections, Dad's number flashing between urgent and angry Mom's voicemails, bleeding into guilt, Megan's texts swinging between tears and rage. Then a new one appeared, Family Zoom, 7 p.m. The subject line read, Casual check-in. Casual. Right. At 6:59, I sat at my desk wearing a soft black sweater, the same one I'd worn when I first created the family fund years ago. There was symmetry in that. My hair was tied back, my voice steady. The Kenyon ledger folder sat open beside my laptop like a quiet witness. I clicked, Join meeting. Faces bloomed across the screen, each one familiar, each one pretending not to be cornered. Mom looked tense, hands clasped so tightly the knuckles whitened. Dad paced behind her, jaw set. Megan's eyes were already red, though I doubted from crying. Aunt Carol sat centered in her frame, pearls gleaming, the self-appointed judge of the family court. Cousin Emily, ever the peacemaker, smiled too brightly. Hi, everyone. Let's all just keep this civil. Okay, of course, I said. I'd hate to interrupt anyone's civility. Dad leaned in. You didn't have to cancel the fund, Skylar. You could have just talked to us. I smiled calm. I didn't cancel it, Dad. I closed it. It was in my name, my routing number, my liability. Mom's voice trembled. That money was keeping us alive. No, I said softly. I was. Aunt Carol sighed dramatically. Families go through rough patches, dear. You don't just turn off love. I met her eyes. You're right. I turned off autopay. For a second, no one breathed. Megan slammed forward. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Watching us struggle. You made everything about control. I tilted my head. I made it about accountability. Dad crossed his arms. We trusted you. That was my cue. I reached for the mouse and clicked share screen. The spreadsheet filled the display rows of color-coded cells, years of payments, dates, and notes. At the top, bold black letters read, Kenyon Ledger XLSX. Mom gasped. What is this? 5 years, I said evenly. Every bill, every copay, every emergency you called love. Lines of data scrolled down like confessions. Rent for Megan's apartment, insulin refills, tires, therapy, mortgage gaps. A dental crown for Aunt Carol. Beside each entry, the totals stacked into one brutal truth, $187,421,000, Emily whispered. Wow. Aunt Carol's smile tightened. Someone loves keeping receipts. I looked straight at her. Someone had to. Otherwise, you'd still call me dramatic instead of accurate. Mom covered her mouth. You tracked all this, I nodded. No one else was keeping score, and I was tired of gaslighting myself. Dad's face went pale. You didn't have to humiliate us. I didn't, I said quietly. I protected us until you made it clear I was the only one who had to. The silence grew so dense it hummed. I clicked to the next tab, another spreadsheet smaller labeled What If. Adrian had helped me build it. The totals showed what I could have saved if I hadn't been their safety net. A modest home, a retirement start, a life. Megan's voice broke through. You think money makes you better than us? No, I said, but it's the only thing you ever came to me for. A flicker of movement caught my eye, Dad's phone lighting up beside him. He was texting, probably trying to coordinate damage control. I scrolled again and pulled up a PDF. Before you decide who's cruel, you might want to see this. The document filled the screen, Kenyon Family Wellness LLC loan application, $80,000. Filed under my name, my social security number, my forged signature. Mom froze. Dad stepped back like the light itself had burned him. This, I said, tapping the screen, was submitted 2 days after you asked me to take a step back. If I hadn't closed the fund, the bank would have released the money straight into a fake business you co-signed. Aunt Carol swallowed hard. That can't be right. Oh, it's right. Carmen at the bank confirmed it. I called her this morning. Megan's tears stopped instantly. You went to the bank, of course. Fraud tends to get their attention. Dad tried to recover. We were just trying to find a way to help Megan. I looked at him almost gently. No, you were trying to help yourselves. You taught her that rescue was my job. But the job's over. I reached beside me, lifting a neat stack of papers into frame. I've already spoken to a lawyer. Every joint account authorization has been removed. Shared cards canceled. Utilities separated. I even notified the IRS. Mom's voice rose brittle and small. You wouldn't. I already did. For a beat, no one spoke. I could see it, the dawning horror of accountability. The moment a family that ran on dependency realized the faucet had truly shut off. Aunt Carol forced a brittle laugh. "You're so dramatic, Skylar. We'll talk when you've cooled down." I smiled faintly. "You don't understand. There won't be another conversation. Love without boundaries becomes debt, and I just paid mine in full." I ended share screen. The blank of the Zoom grid glared back, every face trapped in a different shade of denial. Dad's jaw clenched. "So what?" "You want us to beg?" "No," I said. "I want you to learn how to live without draining me." Then I took a breath, slow and calm. "You told me to step away." I did. And with one click, I hit leave meeting. The screen went black. My reflection appeared a woman I barely recognized. Not angry, not trembling, just free. I sat there staring at the dark monitor, listening to the hum of my refrigerator. It sounded like applause. Outside, the city glowed indifferent. Inside, the quiet finally belonged to me. For 5 years, I'd been financing their peace. Tonight, I bought mine. For 2 days after that call, my apartment felt like the eye of a storm. The phone barely stopped buzzing. Dad's messages swung from fury to desperation. "Please fix this before we lose the house." Mom's voicemails trembled with guilt. "You've gone too far, sweetheart." And Megan's texts came in all caps, "You ruined us." I didn't answer any of them. I just let the notifications pile up until the sound became background noise, like rain on a roof I no longer lived under. On the third morning, the buzzing stopped. The silence was thick and strange, but it didn't hurt. It hummed. I went through every account one last time, verifying that all joint authorizations were gone. My name clean. No shared cards, no hidden logins. For the first time in years, my finances looked exactly like my life, mine alone. Then the email came. From the bank, suspicious business loan application, Kenyon Family Wellness LLC frozen pending investigation. Carmen had kept her promise. The loan had been officially blocked. If I'd hesitated even a day, I would have been $80,000 in debt for a business that didn't exist. That night, Adrian came over with takeout. He didn't ask for details. He just sat beside me and said, "Proud of you." That word proud broke something open inside me. It was the first time I'd ever heard it without strings attached. A week later, I got a call from Uncle Ray, the family's black sheep, the one they'd written off years ago. His voice was gravelly but kind. "I heard what happened," he said. "You're not the first, Skylar. Just the first who shut the faucet off." I laughed through tears. "You mean they did this before?" "Not the loan part," he said, "but they bled me dry in the 90s. I moved states to survive it. Every generation has one who breaks the pattern. Looks like it's you." When we hung up, I cried for a long time, not from sadness, but relief. Someone finally understood. For the first time in years, I slept through the night. No buzzing phone, no overdrafts, no guilt. Just quiet, the kind you earn. A year has passed since that night. My life is small now, peacefully so. I rent a modest apartment with creaky floors that sing when I walk barefoot. I cook dinner with Adrian instead of ordering takeout, and when I check my bank app, there are no surprise withdrawals, no panic. Just calm numbers that belong to me. Last Christmas, Mom emailed a photo of the family by the tree gifts, unopened smiles forced. The subject line said, "Family still means something." I didn't reply. Coming home would mean giving them the keys to everything I rebuilt. Now, when I scroll back to that group chat, the one with Aunt Carol's little thumbs up, I don't feel anger. I feel proof. Boundaries aren't revenge. They're instructions for how to love me correctly or not at all. If you've ever had to draw that line, you're not alone. Share your story below.